Now let's return to our top story now. The news that the High Court has ruled that government consultations on compensating those affected by the proposed HS2 high-speed rail scheme was so unfair as to be unlawful. Well, the government say that the loss on the compensation case won't affect the HS2 construction timetable in any way. Well, let's get some reaction to that ruling. Joining us from Manchester via Skype is Transport Policy Manager for Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce, Emma Antrobus, and also Councillor for Camden, Sarah Hayward, who's at the Crown Court for us this afternoon. Welcome to both of you. Sarah Hayward, you're there at the High Court where the decision was made earlier on this morning. What's your reaction to it? Because 9 of the challenges put forward to the HS2 scheme were rejected and just 1 upheld. Do you see that as a victory?
Well, it's certainly a victory on the compensation, which is one of the most serious issues for Camden, where London residents are disproportionately impacted by HS2 and yet undercompensated compared to those people in rural areas. On some of the other aspects of the judgment, we are considering whether to appeal or not. For example, the public sector equality duty was not applied by the government in this decision, and yet I would be forced to apply it if I wanted to, for example, close a gym in my local area. We think that's got to be fundamentally wrong. We would actually urge at the moment the government to get back round the table to talk to us about mitigation in Camden, because that's why we're opposed to this scheme, is the devastating impact the plans currently have on Camden.
Let's turn to you, Emma Antrobus. At the High Court today, they ruled that the government's consultations on compensation was so unfair as to be unlawful. How much of a setback do you see this as?
Well, certainly from what HS2 have said, that actually it won't hold up construction. And that's what we're really concerned about, that actually this is a major project that will benefit the whole country economically. We understand and appreciate that actually some local impacts will be felt. But this is about transforming transport for the country for the long term.
Well, let me put that back to you then, Sarah Hayward. Obviously, a lot of people will have sympathy with those directly involved who live on the line, but ultimately, more broadly, the intention is that this will give a boost to the economy. It might be for the greater economic good of the nation. Do you accept that?
Well, in Camden, we're not NIMBYs at all. In fact, we accept development and growth in Camden. We're an unashamedly pro-growth council. We campaigned for HS1 to come to the borough and for the regeneration around the King's Cross area it's sparked. We also accept and want regeneration around Euston Station. But the scheme proposals as they stand demolish 500 homes, a school, an open space and countless other community amenities, and the government has no plans to mitigate our local communities. We're not NIMBYs. We just want the scheme to be executed in the right way and for the government to take the concerns locally seriously.
Emma Antrobus, do you accept that there are a lot of people who feel that this isn't being handled in the right way and their interests aren't being listened to?
Well, clearly the courts have said that the whole issue around compensation has not been handled properly, and you know that is the right way to go forward, that they look at it again to try and mitigate any of the concerns that different local authorities and individuals are having. Equally, we don't want our businesses to be badly affected one way or the other in terms of the construction, but also in terms of any delays to this kind of project that we see as actually crucial for the country going forward.
And what do you feel, Sarah Hayward? Do you accept the impact of this project? It could be huge for businesses and just for travellers generally. I mean, the journey times are going to be cut dramatically, aren't they? Isn't that progress?
Well, one of the aspects that we've fought on today and are considering appealing on is actually the movement away of the extra passengers from Euston Station. There's no plan to help TfL help get people away from Euston Station, and the entire time benefit from Birmingham to London will be lost because people won't be able to get into the tube and onto local buses. It's an thought through scheme. As I said before, it's not that we're NIMBYs. We think that this scheme is being badly executed and the impact on Camden residents isn't being properly taken into account or properly mitigated.
Emma Antrobus, are you able to reflect how people feel locally to this upgrading of the rail line, this HS2 scheme? How do people feel about it generally in your area?
Well, it's not about upgrading the railway line. It's about putting new capacity into the country. We know that the West Coast Main Line is going to be full in the next 10 to 15 years. And indeed, there were problems on it last night where services were diverted, causing people delay and inconvenience. And actually, we need to address this as a capacity issue. It's not about speeding up of services necessarily, although that is a benefit. But actually, what we need is people to understand that, we need that capacity on the railways.
OK, Emma Antrobus, Sarah Hayward, we appreciate your time. Both of you, thanks very much indeed for your views.